Father Simon and the Collective. My confession dates back to the late 1960s when I attended Hull University. My girlfriend at the time was an American who was completing the last 2 years of her degree there. Her name was Anne, and her father was Wild Bill Collins, a former US Air Force pilot who had once flown an aircraft through Tower Bridge.
Wow.
How about that?
Really?
Oh, that's impressive.
This is pretty impressive
You meant
stuff.
to do that.
Sometime after Anne and I met, Wild Bill brought the rest of the family to London, and we had a meal at an expensive restaurant in the Strand, then much beloved of Americans. Mrs. Collins insisted on sitting next to me and engaged me in conversation for 2 hours, while the rest of the family looked on in silence. Very strange. Next day, Bill took me aside and said... Oh, hang on.
Oh, great. No, it's got to be an accident, obviously. Here it comes.
Deep south.
He's wild, remember?
Yeah, very, very wild.
Don't pile up the pressure. It is what it's going to be, and that's the way it is.
Snow affected.
So Bill took me to one side. He said, "Say, so,
Sure. Money penny. Yeah, go on.
have you ever seen a movie called The Graduate, son? Oh, biggest heap of garbage I ever saw. As if a beautiful woman like Anne Bancroft would fall for a skinny excuse of a human like Hoffman." I realised then I was being given a significant message by Wild Bill Collins. A few months later, Wild Bill gave his daughter a gift, a brand new MG sports car. How about that? To put this into context, the only other student with a car that I and my friends knew was a man who hoped to be a vicar. He drove a Morris Minor Traveller, the one with wood on. He had the car and just needed the degree. One day, so it was a pretty rare thing, and to have an MG sports car, this was super flash. One day, as Anne and I were driving home from the university in the MG, a car overtook us and forced us to stop at the side of the road. A red-faced, agitated man got out and immediately came to the offside window. He seemed fairly incandescent with rage and told me that he was an off-duty policeman. Unable to restrain himself, he barked, "Did you see what you did at that last roundabout, Sonny?" I replied, "No, I'm sorry, officer, I totally missed it." "Well," he said, "I was already on the roundabout. You cut me off, you fool. In my book, that constitutes dangerous driving." He then pulled a notebook out and a pencil from his pocket, checked his watch and started to scribble notes. "Do you own this car?" he asked. "No, I don't, officer. It belongs to a friend," I replied. "Oh, does it? Does it indeed? Well, could you show me your driver's license then?"
This is very good.
"I'm sorry, officer. I don't actually have a driving license."
I hope this conversation keeps going.
Oh dear, he said in the way that officials in old British films used to say when what they really meant was, "I've got you now, you fop, you no-good wastrel." Right, so what about insurance, he went on. "Are you insured to drive this car?" I'm afraid it's a no again, officer," I said. "I don't have any insurance either." "Good heavens, great Scott!" he replied. "You're in for a long stretch, chummy, and no mistake. Do you even have the owner's permission to drive the car?" "No, I don't," I said. The policeman looked like it was Christmas. However, before he could say anything else, I added, "But why aren't you asking the driver these questions?"
Yes. Silly boy.
At this point, he looked into the car and saw that there wasn't actually any steering wheel in front of me. Wild Bill had bought a left-hand drive car, perhaps to ensure that his beloved daughter eventually came home. Biting his tongue, the policeman went round to the other side of the car and spoke to Anne. She gave him a little speech along the lines of... Female American accent, Simon.
Yes!
"I'm just a guest in your little country. I'm still becoming used to driving on the opposite side of the road.
Found my brow!
I'm so sorry."
This could make pick of the week.
I think. The policeman let her off with a caution.
But he did.
And a couple of death ray looks in my direction, and then he drove off. Anyway, Father Simon, through the Collective, I seek forgiveness from the policeman because I really could have told him earlier in the piece that I wasn't the driver. But you know what students can be like. To assist your task, I can say that no animals were injured in the course of this confession, and also I'm not an art student. So,
Very good. Well done.
just a little bit of because he knows who he's appealing to here, does Robert. I mean, nicely set up. Respect to him because he didn't do anything wrong at all. It's the crazy policeman who was obviously very annoyed about the way things went, but he made a value judgment which turned out to be the wrong call.
Bobby's scratching a head that worries me. That
No. The thing is about the policeman. Surely, I'm jumping forward to CSI. We know the evidence. You always look at the evidence. You never assume. Yeah, don't you? So the policeman's totally in the wrong. I mean, he's in the wrong for jumping the gun, but surely that goes against the whole nature of what he does.
If you had a car in the 60s with the steering wheel on the wrong side, then you were clearly a bad 'un.
Well, he hadn't even noticed that. If he'd have seen that, that would have been fine. The fact is, the policeman had jumped before he'd actually looked at the evidence and taken a long look at what was going on. And that's what he should have done, stepped back and thought, actually, what's going on here? The thing is, he needs retraining. So you are completely forgiven, Robert.
Novice Nigel.
Well, I think the policeman's obviously a complete idiot. And anyone who gets out with the pad and paper as well, off duty. I think so, don't worry about that. You're absolutely forgiven for that completely, Robert. But the person I'm not forgiving is Wild Bill. Apart from the fact that I think he obviously enjoys Simpsons in the Strand, which I presume is a great old British institution.
Is that right?
Restaurant. Yeah. But going to buy your daughter at uni a brand new MG, I mean, it's just way too flash. That's really poncy and unethical and bad.
But Robert knew when he was onto a good thing.
No, he did, didn't he? Yeah,
Hold on. An MG's a fabulous car.
Of course it is, a lovely car, but she's a student. You know what I mean?
You don't want to waste it on a student.
She might have loved it. I had classic cars when I was young. I bought myself. They're lovely cars to have. Yeah. You're entitled to.
Yeah, but her dad bought her a brand spanking MG at uni. I mean, that's not right.
She might have had to do stuff.
Anyway, Max,
What, clean out the stable.
The other two can argue.
Clean the plane.
Yeah, carry on, Matt.
I'm going to forgive, just because of the accents. I love the accents. Let's forgive just for that.
Yes.
Well, that was just me.
Yes, I know, but it's even the interlude with Wild Bill for no reason didn't forward the story at all. But it's very funny for the accents.
Okay, on that basis,
forgive.